Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, today we are taking a really fascinating tour of an absolutely incredible biological factory. We're going to explore the awe-inspiring engineering behind human reproduction. Now, too often people either completely shy away from this topic because of cultural embarrassment, or they just misunderstand it entirely. But today, we are stripping away all that taboo and we're looking purely at the remarkable science and the literal machinery of the human body. To start us off, I want you to consider this really powerful quote. If we didn't exist, you wouldn't either. This comes directly from our source material, which playfully personifies the testicles and allows them to tell their own story. It's a bold statement, right? But it immediately sets up just how absolutely critical these organs are for human existence. Barring a literal miracle, without this biological factory, human life on Earth simply could not continue. They're just as vital a gift as our eyes or our ears, but let's be honest, they rarely get the same respect.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The factory setup. Specifications of life. Grounding ourselves in the physical reality here, this facility is incredibly compact. We're talking about an oval-shaped organ with a shiny pinkish-white color. It's remarkably light, weighing in at barely half an ounce, and it measures only about 1.5 inches in length. I mean, it's tiny, but as you'll see in just a moment, the amount of pure engineering packed into this tiny little space is staggering. Section 2. The dual production line. Sperm and testosterone. Inside this tiny facility operates a highly efficient dual production line. First, it produces life-carrying sperm cells, and second, it manufactures the essential male hormone, testosterone. Let's break down that hormone production real quick. Testosterone is absolutely fundamental to the male body. It actively builds up muscles and reinforces bones. It shapes mental attitudes and creates defining physical traits, like facial hair. It's also the primary driver of sexual desire. To put that into perspective for you, if this factory just stopped pumping testosterone into the bloodstream, a person's bones would literally soften, their body would become flabby, their beard would vanish, and their drive would disappear completely. Section 3. Inside the machinery, the tube network. Now, peeling back the layers to reveal the internal mechanics, I want you to consider this number: 1/2 kilometer. Inside just one of these organs, there's a dense network of thousands of delicate, microscopic tubes. The source material actually compares them to the finest silk threads. If you were to carefully extract all of these tiny tubes from a single testicle and lay them out end to end in a perfectly straight line, they would stretch for nearly 1/2 kilometer. All of that seamlessly folded and coiled into 1.5 inches. And you know what? The engineering gets even more fascinating. All of those delicate, 1/2 kilometer long microscopic tubes eventually converge and they merge into a single, much larger transport tube. And that single tube measures an incredible 20 feet long. It's essentially a labyrinth of biological plumbing that's almost hard to wrap your head around. Section 4. Production output. Staggering numbers. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the number 50 million. That is the sheer, overwhelming number of life-carrying sperm cells produced daily in this microscopic tube network. Just to put that massive number into a relatable scale, the production of this one biological factory equals the entire global population of Earth every 2 months. And the crazy part, all of this is happening continuously every single day. Section 5. Comparative biology, specialized workers. Of course, a factory with this level of constant 24/7 output requires highly specialized workers. Millions of these specialized units, called Leydig cells, handle the continuous, dedicated production of that crucial hormone, testosterone. But here's a really fun twist in comparative biology. Testosterone isn't exclusively a male hormone. Women have it circulating in their bloodstream too, and it's absolutely essential for their sexual desire. But while men produce it here in the testicles, women actually produce their supply via the adrenal glands. The stark contrast, however, is all in the scale of production. Women possess only 1/20th the amount of testosterone compared to men. It's a very delicate biological balance, you see. If this hormone level were to drastically increase in a woman's bloodstream, it would actually cause masculine traits to emerge, such as the sudden growth of facial hair. Section 6. The journey before birth, a vital descent. So, this biological factory doesn't just permanently sit where it finishes developing. It actually has to make a vital, incredibly important logistical journey before a human being is even born. Initially, during fetal development, these factories are located way high up inside the body. Then, exactly 2 months before birth, they receive a biological command to pack up and travel. They move down through a specific passageway called the inguinal canal to arrive at their final external position.
And this is completely non-negotiable for human survival. If they don't make this journey down, the individual might physically appear male, but they'll be completely unable to reproduce.
However, this mandatory journey does leave behind a potential anatomical vulnerability. Once the descent is complete, the inguinal canal is supposed to close up tightly. But if it fails to close properly, it leaves a noticeable weak spot in the body wall. And this is exactly what causes an inguinal canal hernia, a really painful condition where the intestines can actually slip down through that improperly closed gap.
Section 7. Myth-busting, advanced climate control. So the crucial point is this. Quacks, or jolly hakims, as they're known in some cultures, will often claim that the sagging or hanging of this organ signifies some sort of physical weakness or disease. They are intentionally preying on people's health anxieties. But the scientific reality is the exact opposite. Hanging down is not a symptom of disease, it's an essential, highly functional feature of a perfectly healthy system.
But why does it need to hang down in the first place? Well, it's all about strict temperature requirements. Normal human body temperature is 98.6 degrees. However, this factory absolutely cannot produce living, viable sperm cells at that heat. It strictly requires a cooler environment of exactly 95.6 degrees to maintain its high-quality production standards.
And this brilliantly illustrates the body's autonomous auto-AC system. To maintain that perfect 95.6 degrees, the sac holding the factory is packed with tiny sweat glands just to keep the area moist. The evaporation actively cools the environment. Furthermore, and this is basically like a biological smart thermostat, if the environment gets too hot, the whole mechanism physically moves further away from the body's core heat. If it's cold, it shrinks closer to borrow warmth. It is a dynamic, fully automated climate control marvel.
Section 8. Conclusion. An engineering marvel.
I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. Knowing what we now know about the half-kilometer of microscopic tubes, the brilliantly precise autoclimate control, and the daily staggering creation of 50 million cells, isn't it time we completely reject the quack myths, drop the unnecessary taboos, and simply marvel at the incredible biological engineering inside us? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep exploring the wonders of the science all around us.